so today we are starting um, a new material. We're going to be starting oil pastels. For the next 4 weeks, we will be doing this. Um, so this is our kind of starting unit. So I'm going to go over some of the techniques that we're going to be using over the next couple of weeks, as well as drawing some flowers. So I will wait just a minute before we get started. And then we will start by going over um, some techniques and some ways to use oil pastels. And then we will draw some flowers. All right. Um, so we will be starting with techniques, like I said. So we're going to go over some of the ways to use oil pastels before we start these flowers that I have up. So I'm going to go over um, things that you have to keep in mind while using oil pastels. And then, yeah, we will get started. Um, yeah, so take a separate sheet of paper. So I've got a little sheet here of some scrap paper, and we're going to be starting off by going over how I'm going to use the oil pastels, right? So you can kind of you can see we have a lot more colors than what we were using for the watercolor. Um, and we will be using a lot more colors because mixing them isn't a technique that we will use a whole lot, but it is quite fun to mix oil pastels. So we're going to be starting by going over that. So start by grabbing two colors that are fairly similar in tone. So I've got a red here and an orange. Um, and the way to mix colors is actually to start with one of them and go pretty lightly. So you want to not be putting a whole lot of pressure on your oil pastel and start by just filling in the shape very like roughly. So for who just joined, we are just going over techniques of how to use the oil pastels to start off with. So this is how to blend them. So start off by filling in your shape very roughly and very lightly. And that's kind of like the first step for blending. And then taking um, your next color and going over in kind of like circular motions. And you're going to go over the part.
Hi, can I join the English room, please?
Pardon?
I like join the English room. The English today 1 o'clock.
We're not doing ink.
Hi, this is art class.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah. Can you send me code to the main room?
Hi,
Yes.
here is the art class.
Yeah, I'm joining for the English today at 1 o'clock.
Today? No, 1
So
o'clock
can
is
you send me code to the main room? Not the
actually every
class, the art
Monday,
class.
1 o'clock is art class, not English class.
Yeah, but they don't let me in. Is the English class? I think they don't
Okay,
send me there anyway.
I will send you some information about the English class in the chat
Yes,
box.
thank you. Thank you.
Let me check it. Hi, Zoe, continue your list.
oh yeah. Okay. So with blending, you kind of want to stay mostly light when you're mixing colors. And because we're doing circular motion, we're staying light, but we're able to color a whole area um, without having to press very hard. And if So this is our first layer of one color, and you kind of want to go in slightly bigger circles toward the edge of the main part that we colored in, and then take that other color that we were using and do kind of the same sort of big circles and then going in some smaller circles um, near the edge here. So we're able to get that very like opaque scene like part of our circle here. And by going in some larger circles near the middle, we're able to mix the colors together. So that's our first technique, and you can see close up, it mixed the colors fairly well because, yeah. So that's the first kind of technique that we will be using for a lot of things, for blending. And then, yeah. The next technique that we are going to be using is focusing on different pressures of the oil pastels. So the more pressure you put down, the more pastel is left on the page. So you can see if I go very lightly, it's almost like very little is left on the page, versus if you press really, really hard, it's very opaque and it's like a very thick coverage. So having to so knowing how to like play with those kind of pressures is important with oil pastels, to know where to go lighter and where to go a little bit darker. Um, and the other thing that is really important about oil pastels is keeping the angle of your oil pastel kind of so different angles of your oil pastel leave you with different techniques. So if you hold your oil pastel straight up and you go down, you get a lot of coverage and a lot of um, space taken up. And if you hold it at a very sharp angle, you're able to get very thin lines. So things for like the stems of the flowers, we're going to be holding our pen or pastels very thin. So I'm almost holding it like touching the paper on both sides almost. And I'm able to get those thin lines as well as getting the thick ones just by how I'm holding the pastel. And the other important thing to go over when learning oil pastels is how to layer your oil pastels. So for this, you want to get a couple of different colors out. Um, and there are two kind of ways to layer your oil pastels. You can layer them like we did with blending, where you're going on top of what you put down just normally. So you can still have those different colors, but it's a little bit more like rough. And then also you can layer your pastels by doing it very like thick and then just having the same pressure for each layer of pastels that you're doing. So you can see compared to the lights, when I was using my pastels very lightly compared to using them very darkly, like heavily, there is no like air spots really, whereas this one has paper showing through. So those are kind of the two ways of layering your pastels. And these flowers have a couple of like these techniques kind of worked in throughout them. So we're going to go over the techniques while we're doing the flowers as well. Yeah. But this week is more to get familiarized with the material, right? So if you have any questions, please ask me. If you want me to go over things, ask me as well. And yeah, we will get started on some good flowers in just a minute here. And I will leave this up here to have it as kind of a reference. So if you'd like to take a photo of this before we start, and then, yeah. All right, I'll just wait for another minute and then we will get started. All right. Um, so we will be getting started with this purple flower here. So I'll show you the colors that I'm going to grab for it, and then we will go into the flower. So I've got 3 different types of purple that I'm going to be using. So I've got a very dark kind of bluish purple, a medium tone purple, and a very light purple. So these are the colors that we're using for the actual flower. And then this dark green for the stem. So it's a little bit more of like a bluish green. And that's what we will be using for the leaves and for the stem of the flower. So those are the 4 colors for this one here. And yeah, let's get going. So we're going to start off with this very light purple, and kind of like near the top of your page, you're gonna start doing very like small lines with a lot of pressure on your page. Um, and you want to start having them very concentrated and then kind of have them less concentrated as you go down. And you don't want to go too far down. This is just like the first layer of our color here, so you just kind of need a little bit right up at the top of where your flower is going to be. And I'll show you a little bit of a close-up for what this technique kind of looks like. So you can see it's very like spotted. You can tell I'm doing like little dots very like close together and then spreading them out a little bit. All right. The next step is kind of a very similar thing with our medium tone of purple, and you want to overlap just a little bit with the light purple, but you want to leave lots of that light purple visible. And yeah, so we're going to do very similar with the medium tone purple, just adding in those dots, keeping um, a little bit of a higher pressure on your pastel. So you're putting a lot of the pastel on the page. All right. The next step is going in with our darkest purplish blue here. And with this color, you want to have a very little amount of it higher up in the flower. So you can see I only put a little bit up, and as you get lower down, you want to make it a little bit more concentrated.
So is it
Uh,
blue? Is it
yeah.
blue? Blue.
It's like a bluish purple. So I'll swatch it and show you closer up to the camera. So this is the color. It's like kind of blue, but it's got more of a purplish tone to it. Yeah, so it looks very blue against the two purple colors, but it's a little bit more of a purpley blue. All right. The next step is to go back in with the lightest color and add little spots kind of on top of the mid-tone and the dark tone. Just to lighten it up just a little bit around the edges and stuff. So it's a little bit um here. If you look at this one, it looks very like three-dimensional because we put that lighter purple on top again. Um, so that's kind of what the goal is with this one. Yeah. All right. Yeah, so the next step is the stem. And you want to hold it at a very like low angle so you get a nice thin line, and it doesn't have to be perfect. You can always go in and thicken it up as well if it's very light, like that. And then we're going to add in our leaves. So I'm kind of holding the same amount of pressure and a little bit of a higher angle on my pastel than the stem, but still keeping those lines kind of thin-ish, like that. And you can also add in a little bit of green down the kind of middle of your flower, and that just shows that the stem goes all the way to the top of it. All right, the next flower we're going to be going over is this yellow one here. Yeah, so for that flower, I'm using two yellows. Um, so I'm using a kind of middle tone yellow and a very light yellow. I'm also using a reddish brown color and a kind of like yellowish brown color. So I can swatch these in a second for you guys. Um, yeah, so these are the colors we're using. um, 2 yellows. There's some blue on my yellow here. Um, and the 2 browns. And I am using this green here. So those are the colors we are using for the next flower. So we're going to be starting off with this light yellow color. And if you can see on my yellow, there's a lot of blue. And the way that I get rid of that is I use a hard edge of paper and I kind of scrape any unwanted colors off. So if you have colors on your pastel, if you use a hard piece of paper and just kind of scratch them off, then it's good as new. No more blue. And you might have to do this a lot as because pastels are so soft, they often have other colors on them. So like the purple that we used for that flower now has a little bit of blue on it. And this is something that I often have to do with pastels. So just cleaning them off. Yeah. Yeah, so don't ever like worry about your pastels not having um like clean parts on them. It's pretty easy to clean them up. So for these flowers, I kind of start with a circle, and that's the like center of our flower here. Um, I then kind of draw um, a little bit lighter. I draw in the middle lines for the petals of the flower. And then I thicken them up once I like where they're placed. So I go over them again and thicken them up. You want to keep them a little bit pointier near the end of your petal, like that. So this flower has 3 flowers on it. So we're going to do that again, starting with a circle for the middle of it, and then going out in the direction that you want your petals to go. And this one has 5 petals. So again, sticking to kind of keeping a point at the top and just thickening up our lines here. Like that. And I've left empty spaces on both of the sides here because that's kind of like where the stem kind of meets it. So you can see where the stem connects to the flower, I've left space. And yeah. But for this one, we'll have it like facing the page kind of more direct. So starting off with our center and then our lines and then thickening up those lines. All right. The next step is to go in, excuse me, to go in with a little bit of a darker yellow and just darken up the ends of the flower. You can't really see it on camera, but the goal is just to kind of make the middle part lighter than the edges of the flower. So how has everyone's weeks been? I have this week off from work, so my past week has been busy preparing to have this week off, which is nice. The next step is pretty fun to do. So it's for the middle of the flowers, and we're kind of following the same technique as these purple petals on this flower and doing little dots. So you want to do them kind of concentrated together with one color and then switching to another color of the two browns that we had. And you kind of want to make a circle out of these dots, and you kind of want to have the colors overlapping quite a bit. So you can see they're like, you can tell there's two browns in there, but they're pretty like blended together. So that's kind of the goal for the inside of these yellow flowers. So starting off with one color here and doing those same dots. And you might have to put a lot of pressure because we have that yellow already down. When you're layering on top of colors, you often need quite a bit of pressure. So starting off with those brown dots and then switching to your other color and mixing it up a little bit. So the next step is the stem here, and we will do that in just a second here. Yeah, so same as the stem, you want to keep your pastel very like almost touching the page to get those nice thin lines. And you want to connect the lines together mostly. So I have two different main stems here, and then I've got one that branches into two of the flowers, like that. So again, if you keep your pastel at that same angle and you go over the same spot a bunch of times lighter, it'll get a little bit darker and thicker without having to worry about having your lines be too thick. The next step here are the leaves. So you want to kind of keep a similar angle and kind of making a very thin loop for the leaves and coloring them in if they need to be. Just like that. So nice and simple. Yeah. For these top blossoms here as well, because we have the stem connecting into the flower and not going behind it like this one, I do like to make it a little bit thicker near the top of the flower. And if you cover any of the color that we've already put on, you can always add on some more like that. So that is our yellow flower, and we are going to move on to the next one here. So this one has quite a few colors involved. So I will go over them in just a second here. I'll swatch them for you all. The first color you're going to need is white. So obviously you can't really see it on the page, but it's more about the texture. Right? So you can kind of see it on the top of this flower. It just adds a little bit of that oil pastel texture to keep the whole look of the flower going to the top there. This is the one we're doing next. The next color you need is very like light peach color. Like that. This like light orange, that's like quite pinky. It looks very pink on the outside, but it's mostly orange. Pink of some sort. You can do a little bit of a darker pink or a lighter pink. And then this very light green is the last color that we're using. So for this flower, we are going to be doing more like very like pressing down pretty hard for your colors. So I'm kind of here, I'll show you with a different color because you can't really see. I'm kind of going in like this where I'm going down and over and kind of overlapping things as well. So that's kind of what the technique that we're going to be doing, where you're going like around kind of, and then like crossing it and going like that, but a lot more layered than that. So I did the white just like that right at the top. And then we're going to be doing the same thing next with this lighter color. And you kind of want to get a little bit bigger with each color that we use. So the next one is this orange color. And yeah, so you want to make sure you're overlapping things and getting a little bit bigger with each color. You can also kind of go up into the previous color a little bit, or grab that same color and kind of add it into the darker color as well. Like that. And then the next color is our pink here. And just doing that same like overlapping like that. And then taking that previous color again and overlapping it just a little bit. And putting a little bit of pink a little bit higher. So for oil pastels, it's very like loose lines, right? So because you're not really able to get a lot of crisp lines with the oil pastels, your goal is to kind of get the essence of it only using color and texture. So rather than relying on like straight lines and clear lines, we're relying on more of the color behind the lines. So we're just doing color, right? There's no like black, there's no pencil that we're using. And the reason that we overlap so much with these colors is to get the texture. So you're getting lines without actually putting lines in. So here, as you can see with this one, we're getting the feel of those like an outline of a flower, but it's only colors that we're using. And that texture of it being kind of spotty gets the like the essence of what the flower is without having to use outlining or pens or pencil or anything. So that's kind of the goal with oil pastels, is to get the feeling behind things rather than the actual object. So the next step for this flower is the stem, and using this very light green and kind of keeping that like flat angle. The stem is a little bit thicker, like that. And then also putting a little bit of green at the top. And you can put it a little bit throughout the flower, but not as much, specifically at the top. This is based off of a snapdragon, which are very cool flowers. But they've always got a little bit of green right at the top of them. So yeah, and I'm just cleaning off my oil pastel here, just a little bit. And these leaves, I'm going a little bit longer and a little bit pointed more out. These aren't the most accurate flowers, but yeah. Um, yeah. And then that is it for that flower. So you can put your colors away, and then we will get out our new colors in just a second. So, this here is the next flower we are doing. So we're using a red and an orange and a bit of a darker green. Yeah. So I'm taking out the same red and orange that I used for our demo. And this green color. I'll swatch the green for you. So that's the green that we are using. So for this flower, for the like blooms on the flower, we're going to be using a lot of pressure to get the shape kind of right and the feel of the flower. So we're going to be starting out with this dark red, and I'll do a little example of the flower for you guys to show you what I mean when I say we're using a little bit of harder texture to get that um, look that we're going for. So this is kind of what we want the flower to look like. And the way that I'm doing this is I'm pressing down really hard and going slightly up and down in that kind of motion. So yeah, and then you start from the same kind of spot and going up in a different way and then another way, um, all from the same kind of starting point, like that. So we'll wait a sec and then we will do it on the actual paper. So once again, putting your pastel down and putting quite a bit of pressure and going up and down to make your petals and staying on the same kind of starting point and going out from just that one spot. And we're going to do that a couple of times. So one slightly lower and a little bit of a different angle, and then a slightly smaller one with some less petals, and then a much smaller one. So you can add as many blossoms as you'd like. Yeah, but I have just 4 here. So the next step is going to be with this orange color, and we're going to be doing the same kind of process, starting at the same origin point and just going slightly shorter than that red color. So you can see this color blends in quite a bit. So if you wanted to, you could use a little bit of a lighter orange to get it a little bit more of some clear color change. Like that. And because we're pressing so hard, you might need to clean your pastel off. Um, just a bit. The other way you can clean your pastel, I didn't show you this, but you can just kind of rub off a lot of the mixed color, and then it'll do about the same thing. You'll just be using a little bit more pastel to get it off. Yeah. So the final step for this flower is the stem, and it's kind of following the same process as most of the stems that we've done already, of kind of going down at that thinner angle so you can get nice thin lines. And we're going to be doing the same thing that we did for these blossoms here, going a little bit thicker near the base of the flowers. And then we're going to be adding in the petals, which are, we want to make them kind of small and closer to the stem for this flower. And just adding in quite a few, but keeping them a little bit smaller. And that's it for that one. So for the next flower, we are doing this one, but we kind of ran out of space a little bit. So I'm going to show you a little bit of a different way to draw this flower, but we're going to keep it the same kind of look. Yeah, so for that one, you're going to need a light blue, the light yellow that we are using, a dark green for the stem, and sometimes I like to put a little bit of light purple on them as well. The light purple is optional. Yeah, so I'll swatch these colors really quick. So the light yellow that we used, some light blue, darker green, and some purple. So those are the colors we are using. So the way that I do these flowers is pretty simple. I kind of, they're really nice and easy, so I do kind of like a plus sign, and then I just round them out just a little bit, which can be sometimes a little bit tricky to do, but you kind of just want to get them, so you only need 4 petals for these flowers. So the way that, to keep them simple, you kind of just want to just do like little crosses like that. And then just filling out the spots a little bit. So this flower is based off of Forget-Me-Not. So you want to start off by doing a couple of little circular blossoms near the end of our flower stem here. And so these I'm just doing, I'm just putting my pastel down and going in a very small circle. So you can, like, I'm barely moving at all, but I'm just putting the pastel down and going in a very small circle just to get a little bit of a rounder dot. Like that. So I just put a couple of those and then a couple of our bigger flowers here. And you want to space them out a little bit. Yeah. So the next step is going to be doing the center of the flowers, and we're taking this light yellow color and just putting it directly in the middle. Kind of the same way we did the little blossoms here, just putting it down and kind of going in small circles just to put a little dot right in the middle of the flowers. It's a little bit hard to see on camera, but I've just put little dots in the centers. And our last step is just going to be doing the stem. So this stem is going to be a little bit different. We're going to actually start at these blossoms here and curl the stem kind of around where our flowers are. So it's not kind of connecting to any of our main flowers yet. It's just kind of curling around where it could be. The next step is adding in smaller stems, connecting the big one to our small flowers. Like so. And you can add a little bit more green in the blossoms if you've got some space. And the leaves from this flower are pretty big and like long, so we want to start them all kind of at the base of our stem and go out and then follow that line uh, back in so they're a little bit thicker. Like that. So now is kind of the fun part of just adding in more flowers to kind of fill up some space that we have. Um, so on this one, you can see I've got a couple of some smaller flowers here and here, and I've got some different kind of leafy plants. And these were kind of just to fill up the space to kind of make our little garden here a little bit fuller. So I'm going to start with showing you how to do this kind of leafy plant here. And we can kind of fit them in wherever you have space on your page. So I'm going to be putting one here, and I'm going to be starting off with the stem, which is a thin line.
Which color? Which color?
Which color? I'm using
Purple?
this
Purple?
green color.
Green?
Yeah, it's green.
Mhm.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, so we're starting off with the stem here and then putting some smaller leaves up near the top, and we're kind of following the same kind of way we've been doing our leaves, but adding in quite a lot of them because you want to make it look pretty full. And you want to make the leaves go out further the lower you get down on the stem here. And you can kind of have them like overlap like these ones. You can have like really thin ones or really like wider ones, some smaller ones. Yeah. The next way of using up some space, we're going to be making this smaller yellow flower here. So I'm using this yellow. It's kind of a darker yellow. We haven't used this color yet. So it's a little bit darker than what we've been using for yellows. And then I'm using this very dark green. So this is the green that I'm using for the stem. It's the same green that we used for the stem here. So I'm going to be starting with the yellow, and similar to how we did these flowers, but I'm going to go make them a little bit longer, and yeah. So using that technique of starting all in the same space and kind of branching up like that. And this is a bit of a shorter flower, so yeah. And then after this yellow, I'm going to take the dark green and add in some stems for it. And I'm only going to add in one kind of petal. And I'm going to do the same thing, making the base a little bit thicker when it gets near the flowers. So the next little flower we're going to be doing, I'm using a darker blue and the same green we used for this stem here. So this is the green. This is the main blue we're using. And I'm going to be using the same purplish blue that we used for that flower. So I'm going to start off with this medium blue and add in some spiky flowers. So these are pretty, keeping my pastel quite light and just starting at one point and going out kind of sporadically like that. And then taking the darker blue here and just putting it right at the base. And doing the same kind of light lines that we did for the main blue. Like so. And then taking that green and just doing some little stems and some leaves.
Zoe,
Mhm.
I have a question.
Yeah, what's your question?
How to correct mistakes here?
If you have mistakes,
Yes, how to
you can
correct.
kind of, so similar to how that how I showed you how to clean off your pastel, you can
Mhm.
use the
Okay.
paper, like a piece of paper to kind of scrape it off.
Mhm.
Um, but it won't do a whole lot. So there's kind of um no like definitive eraser for oil pastels. Um, I've done quite a bit of research and
We don't have erasers there.
no, there's not really a way to get rid of oil pastels once it's on the page.
Maybe,
Um, and it's a little frustrating, but it's also a lot of fun because it kind of teaches you to use your mistakes no matter what it is. Um, the other thing is that you can cover your mistakes really easily. Um, so this flower that I scraped off a lot of, if you take any other color, you can kind of now cover over it pretty easily.
oh,
But that's kind of really it. There's not a whole lot of ways to get rid of oil pastel. Something that might help is if you used a palette knife. Um, Here, I think I have one at my desk here. Maybe, maybe not, but a palette knife, it's just kind of like a really thin, flat piece of metal, and that'll work kind of the same as what a paper does. It'll just be a little bit more uh like definitive kind of. It'll take off quite a bit more. But you can also use the tip of a pencil and scratch away quite a bit,
And
like this,
yes.
and then just wipe the tip of the pencil off. So you can see it got rid of quite a bit of the pastel. It just didn't get rid of all the color.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. So I'm going to add in, oh, that's really pretty. Oh, I like it.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's really cute.
Mhm.
I was gonna show you guys how to draw a ladybug as well if you'd like. Um, because ladybugs are great. I love ladybugs. I have this weird thing where like in the summer, I have ladybugs just land on me out of nowhere, which I really like. But it's fairly simple, just kind of creating like a circle and then adding in kind of the head of the ladybug and then a couple of spots on it. And that's a simple ladybug. You can also do um, like bumblebees really easily as well. Um, just by taking kind of the same process. So going in with a yellow, making kind of a circle, and then adding in the head and some stripes, and then adding in some wings, which you can use white, or I have a light gray here. And yeah. So there's a couple of different techniques that I wanted to show you as well at the end of our lesson here, as they weren't really things that we were going to use in the lesson, but I wanted to go over them because they are some techniques that we will be using a little bit later on. So I'm going to take my sample paper here, and you can use a pencil or a toothpick or something, but something with like a really, really thin tip to it, right? And so this is quite a fun trick. So you want to take any color and put a lot of color down so it's nice and thick on your page. And then if you take if you take another color and go kind of on top of it, so I'm using a pink on top of this and adding it on top here, then taking your pencil and drawing lines in it. So you can see that yellow kind of comes through where the pencil scraped through the pink. So that's a really fun technique that we're going to be using. The thinner the object you use, the like thinner your lines will be. So that's why I said a toothpick, which we will be using some toothpicks next week to get a nice texture in some of the pastels we use. So you can kind of add in like different lines and different textures by doing this. So you can see adding in different like scratch marks, makes different textures. And yeah, that's one of the techniques that we're going to be doing. Yeah. So that is kind of our lesson today. Um, I wanted to make it a little bit shorter so we could go over some techniques, but also if you guys had questions about the material, I could answer some if you had some, or if you wanted me to go over anything, because this is a new material, so.
Can I see? Can see this one?
Oh yeah, that's really nice. I like it.
Thank you.
Oh wow. I like it a lot. That's really cute.
Thank you.
Sorry, is it
Yeah.
sometimes it seems so easy to break, right?
Oh yeah. So that's the kind of other slightly unfortunate things about oil pastels is they do break. So that's why I was saying that pressure is a really important thing. Um so like if you press really, really hard, you can break them quite easily or make them dent.
Are they dry
Um
because they're dry too long?
oh yes, yeah. If they
Dry
dry,
too, right?
yeah.
When they dry. And the other things is when you use in some kind like this, that
Mhm.
when it's brand new, it's okay. You use the edge to get the shape.
Yeah.
But when you already use it and it's very hard to get into the shape because
Yeah.
it's not sharp enough or whatever, right?
Yeah. So
I mean, right?
yes, I do know what you mean, and I was
Yeah,
going to go
when
over that.
it's
Thank you for reminding me. One thing you can do to get kind of your points back on your oil pastels is just to kind of like mold them to the shape you kind of want them at. So if you can see, I'm able to make it kind of the same square tip by just going like this for a minute, like straight up, and then on that angle, and you can get that same kind of point that
yeah,
you get from a new one. The other thing you could do is use an X-Acto knife,
use
and
the
just
knife
kind of,
to shape it. Yeah,
yeah,
to cut it in the shape. But then in that case, it weighs a lot, right?
yeah, it wastes a little bit. That's why um, doing this, just like flattening them is quite a bit easier and a little bit more cost effective. Um, yeah, so that's something you can do. Um, Also, like I have had this off screen, and you can also do it kind of with your piece of paper. So you can kind of flatten out parts and
Yeah.
things like that.
Mhm.
It'll do similar to an X-Acto knife, but just getting off quite a bit less material. But yeah, I would say flattening it on paper is the easiest way to do that.
Okay.
Zoe,
Yeah.
can I start, for example, by pencil to draw by pencil? After that, I color with oil pastel.
Like using pencil first.
Yes.
Yes, you can use pencil first. So this is pencil. Oil pastel goes really nicely on top of pencils.
Mhm.
So it kind of covers pencils completely.
Uh-huh.
So you can see. So we can use pencils first, and we will be using it for some things.
Doesn't
Um,
impact anywhere. Doesn't impact anywhere. The
mhm.
pencil.
Sorry, can you repeat that?
Doesn't impact. If,
Yeah, it doesn't
uh,
change anything.
then
You're
change
right.
anything anywhere. Okay. Thank you. It's
Yeah,
good.
no worries.
Good idea, I think.
Yeah. Um, for some of the things we will be using pencil. For our first lesson though, I kind of wanted to just rely on pastels. So yeah.
Yeah, it's not for professional like you. It's for the beginners like us.
Yeah, I can use pencil more if you would like. Thank you for letting me know. But I am definitely not a professional.
You are,
Um,
you are, you are.
oh, thank you. Um, yeah, I've got quite a bit of practice. So,
Hi everyone, I would like to remind you we have Lou class next Monday.
yeah.
Because next Monday is Remembrance Day, so we have Lou class. Okay. And also you can see the messenger that Ethan put in the chat box. If you need any materials, you can send her email to me or Ethan about that.
Yeah. So no class next week, like she said. But the week after that, we're going to be doing a landscape. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, I
Mhm.
don't have the sketch ready for it yet, but we're going to be doing like a prairie landscape. So yeah.
Hi Zoe, so next session um, we do landscape. What is the materials? Could you please tell us? The materials are oil, pastel, or
Yeah. So oil pastels are what we will be using for the next 4 weeks.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so thank you, Zoe. And I will be taking off for holiday for a month.
Oh, okay, that's fun.
Yeah, but then you got the video, right? So I can go in and or maybe
Yeah.
when I am the timing is right, then I can sign in for Wi-Fi or whatever to watch it. But the time is different. I'm going to go back to Hong Kong, so when your
Oh,
day
that's fun.
is my nighttime, so or your nighttime is my daytime, so
Oh, yeah, that's
timing
fun.
different. Yeah. So we'll see you after New Year.
Oh, yeah, we'll see you then.
Okay, thank you. Bye.